Hey everyone, I'm Jim Vejvoda here to talk to you about the Punisher's second episode, Two Dead Men, which was definitely stronger than the series premiere. Much of this is thanks to the show's main narrative kicking up a notch with the introduction of Micro, a character referenced at the end of Daredevil Season 2. We now know more of what was on that disc labeled Micro that Frank Castle had at the end of Daredevil, why it's important, and how it might affect him. The introduction of Micro sets up a character who will either become Frank's ally or yet another adversary for him to deal with. But as depicted in this episode, Micro seems like he'll end up more friend than foe. Hopefully for his sake. We've seen what happens when you go up against Frank Castle. We learn that Micro is actually David Lieberman, a former NSA analyst who uncovered some dirty business that Frank's team was up to back in Afghanistan. Actions that paint Frank in a less than noble light, to put it mildly. Micro himself is a family man whose conscience plagues him enough with what he's uncovered that he ends up leaking it, a decision that leads to his own presumed death at the hands of crooked FBI agent Carson Wolfe. This version of Micro is essentially Edward Snowden, but, without an Oliver Stone movie made about him. But he's a sporting character in a Netflix show, so that's a pretty good consolation prize. Micro, like Frank, was a family man who made personal sacrifices and has a moral compass. They are kindred spirits to a degree, but his pursuit of Frank is a bit too clever and vexing for the Punisher's liking. Ultimately, both Frank and Micro are two ghosts who have returned to haunt the bad guys, if they don't destroy each other first. Eben Moss-Bachrach's performance as Micro is very strong, especially after Frank gets the upper hand on him by visiting Micro's wife Sarah, and Lieberman realizes he's poked the wrong bear. While Frank clearly has a soft spot for Mrs. Lieberman, the message he sends by visiting Micro's family is deadly clear. Don't mess with me. Overall, it was cool to see Frank deal with a challenge he couldn't just shoot or punch his way out of, to see the Punisher have to rely on his wits rather than just his weapons. Micro is a fascinating foil for Frank, and I look forward to seeing how this relationship plays out. Two Dead Men also deserves a shout out for the return of Karen Page, who helps Frank track down Micro, and for the fight between FBI agent Carson Wolfe and Frank. It was a vicious but appropriate end for that slime bag. Thanks for watching, and for more coverage on Marvel's The Punisher, check out our review of the series premiere, and as you keep watching the season, be sure to check back in to hear our thoughts on each episode. And as always, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN.